Yes, folks. Back from the West Coast, Brendan and I were out there this weekend for Politicon, which I saw John Fugelsang there, and he had the best description of it for me. He said, it's like Comic-Con, but with a lot less integrity. And he was right. It was a bit of a freak show. I mean, it was nice. There were plenty of fans out there of the Majority Report and of TMBS and Antifada and of course Literary Hangover, which was nice to connect with some of those people. It was also super creepy to be walking around and seeing Bill Kristol walk by, or Ann Coulter, or some guy wearing a three-cornered hat, wearing a full Patriots outfit and not being for the Patriots, the football team. I mean, if you dress up like that as a mascot, that's okay. I mean, theoretically, right? You're getting paid for it, and it's tongue in cheek. But there was a lot of that in it, but it's very creepy to be walking around. I don't like, walking around folks like Bill Kristol. I mean, if he, obviously he needs to walk and he's allowed to walk, but
he's ambulatory. Yeah,
there's like there's an expectation, and I don't, I don't put the the people who work on the conference on the spot. They're just volunteers. But when they're like, "Oh, do you want to say hello?" and I'm like, "Absolutely not. No,
Wait,
actually."
People volunteer to work at this thing?
Well, I don't know if they're volunteers. I don't think they're volunteers, but they're just people who go to work. I don't think they do it for free. No, I think they get paid. But I mean, like they're people. They're not. They don't work for the venue. I think they work different. I was talking to somebody who was like, I wasn't going to do this one, then I decided to do it, and so volunteer is the wrong word.
I was going to ask, who pays to go to this thing?
A lot of people. I don't know. And but it was strange. The whole thing was strange. We did two panels. One was on Mike Pence, and it was really not so much on Mike Pence as much as, or directly on Mike Pence, as much as it was on the question of like, would it be worse to have Mike Pence as VP? And actually, our guest from on Monday's show, the pre-recorded, Anand Giridharadas was on that panel. Elise Jordan, who had worked for Condi Rice and now actually makes a point of saying that she no longer identifies as a Republican, and the author of a biography on Mike Pence. And he was interesting. We may have him on. Mike Pence is a sort of a terrifying figure. According to his biographer, he is the most powerful. He is the I want to say he is the theocrat who has attained more power in America than any other theocrat in the country. Or he's the most theocratic person to attain that type of power. I mean, he's full-on theocrat. And I think I knew that, but I didn't hear it quite as explicitly. And that was actually an interesting conversation, I think. And we had another one, the Should We Be Socialists panel, that had no socialists on it. And I think
what'd you decide?
Well, the interesting thing is that there was nobody arguing for, because there was no socialists on the panel. No one came out and said we should be socialists. I think this panel is going to be running on C-SPAN at one point, but the argument sort of broke down more into sort of like tactics. And I feel like it was an interesting crew of people, Bakari Sellers, Marcus Malitzis, Kyle Kulinski, David Pachman, and Anna Kasparian. And much of it sort of fell along the lines of tactics. And, should Joe Manchin, I don't know what there was. Should Joe Manchin, everybody agreed that Joe Manchin should be primaried. But then after that, there was some other sort of like, we need to get rid of Joe Manchin. And then it was unclear to me how that would happen outside of a primary. But there was a lot of that, which is not to say that people were defending Joe Manchin. But I think the argument was in terms of, I don't know. I don't know what the argument was really. I mean, and I was the moderator, so that was I did my best. But it was interesting nevertheless, and there was a lot of people there. And Kyle Kalinske had a huge fan contingency there. And then on Sunday, I debated Charlie Kirk from Turning Points USA, and you guys played the clip of him freaking out with
Jank.
With Jank.
We also played him demand the banking one.
Okay, so later in the program, probably in the fun half, I think we're going to do the whole debate at an accelerated speed, like literally run the debate at like 1.3 times speed. But we'll do some running commentary, like a DVD extra. I will say this, though, just to give you a sense. So the only thing I saw that debate, I mean, I think we saw like 5 minutes of the debate with Hassan Piker, which is where actually Charlie lost it with Jank, I guess, in the question answer period. But that was the only clip that I had really seen because it was on Twitter. And so and we had a fan sent me a link, and it's not hard to find, a link to the Turning Points USA tax filings. And it's a 990 form, and you can see it for the whole years. And so I had some notes, and they were just basically, things to remember to bring up. And I probably should have organized them different because there were some things I forgot. But on the outside of these notes, I wrote TPUSA 990 form.
You're such a
and
pest.
990A. And I don't know if during the debate you can see I'm like flashing it like this. And before the debate, when when we met Charlie, I asked him about it. I said, "Yeah, I heard you got into a big squabble yesterday with Jank." And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Was it about your pay?" Or something like that. And he said, yeah, we were talking about pay. And then I go, because I looked up your tax filings. And it's pretty amazing. $4 million budget. You can only make $27,000 a year? And he's like, yep. And I was like, for 65 hours a week, huh? Boy, you should see somebody about a raise. And then he's like, well, actually, no, it's more now. And I said, oh, so you got a raise this year? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, in 2017, it was $49,000. And I'm like, well, that's not what it says in your 990. He's like, yeah, I should talk to my accountant. I'm like, yeah, you should. And then I said, and I also noticed that your shipping, your postage, is $250,000 a year. That's a lot of money on postage. And he's like, yeah, we send out a lot of kits to colleges. I'm like, oh. And $1.1 million for travel? I do think, it probably would be a bit of a favor for Charlie on some level because it sounds like his accountant may have messed up on that pay thing. Maybe I looked at it wrong, but I was pretty sure it was the 2017 990. And you can ask for more audited expenses. I think that's public. Because it is a tax-exempt organization, because they don't do any campaigning, supposedly. And so it was fun just telling him that he should probably get his accounting done. But that was all behind-the-scenes stuff. And I was just joking around with the guy, and he's very well behaved off stage.
Yeah, leave it on the field.
Yeah, totally leave it on the field. And so we will go through the debate later.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that should be fun. I'll give you a sense of what I was thinking. And I have to say, like, I don't know if people have seen it and they may skip our assessment of it, but I would say I give myself a B+. I feel like there's a couple of things I could have done better, and then there are things I could have done, would have had to have hit like a grand slam. So, minus the grand slam, and there was a couple of points I think I could have done a little better. But overall, I think I did fairly well. And I think it's, this is someone clipped this. This was a fun part. So there was a segment during the debate, and was this the bank? I don't know what
this is in the banking.
Yeah. Yeah. There were a couple of places during the debate. We'll go through this in real time, but Charlie seemed to be a little bit confused about how banks make money. And the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the reason why Republicans ostensibly want to get rid of it is because it's too independent. Because Congress does not fund it. So they can't inhibit its operations by cutting its funds, which is what the Republicans want to do, because its funds were set up in such a way to insulate it from those kind of attacks by lawmakers who may want to help out the big banks. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and I got this number wrong during by a factor of 10. Since 2011, really, I guess for 5 years after that, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau saved consumers almost $13 billion, billions with a B. And the funding to operate the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau comes from fees paid by banks, not unlike the FDIC, which is, which is basically depositor insurance. Federal government backstops it, but there's some fees associated with it. And the way a bank makes money is they loan out money at an interest rate higher than the interest rate they give their depositors. There's that arbitrage, and they make that money in between. Often a bank will loan out even more money than they have, but there are capital requirements that the U.S. government insists upon so that you don't loan out too much money that you don't have. Nevertheless, those fees are paid by the profits the banks make. The delta between what they pay out in interest and what they take in interest. Charlie didn't seem to have a really tight grip on that.
Money doesn't just sit there in the bank, Sam.
So somebody took a small clip of that audio.
This is Lizard Rumsfeld again.
Lizard Rumsfeld
is a key player on Twitter.
Yeah, this is pretty good. And as you know, or may not know, I play Hugo on the show Bob's Burgers. And here's a scene that Lizard Rumsfeld took the audio and put it into a scene with Hugo and Bob.
What is the budget? It is completely funded by fees that they get from the bank.
Okay, so forcibly take money.
He went on to say forcibly take money from depositors, which is not actually how that works.
That is really good.